Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. What we're going to be making today is these little travel tissue holders. I took my tissues out of the original plastic and just poked it right in here. And I made mine just a solid little plaid. But we're going to make a couple of different options for these. And so we're going to make that one. And it requires 2 pieces of fabric, an 8.5 by 6 and a 7 by 6. So I've already got that cut, and I went ahead and put some interfacing on mine, but you don't have to. The interfacing just helps it be a little stiffer, that's all. Okay, so we're going to lay our front sides together and just sew one seam down the side, down the short side, the 6-inch. Alright, and then these are obviously not the same. So we're going to pull this down like this, and we're going to make another seam. Alright, and then you can turn these out. I just sort of centered this piece. And you can do this one of 2 ways. This can be your lining if you want, so that you have one solid piece. Or you can turn it this way to where it's going to look like this at the end, where this is the outside and then it looks like you have borders right here in the center. Also, I want to add this little loop. And we're going to do that by putting it at one end, it doesn't matter which end, right in the center. Okay guys, so I almost messed up and was getting ready to make it solid again. So I wanted to show you how to do it with the little border edges. And I want to add a little loop on it so that if you wanted to clip it to a keychain and hang it, dangle it off the purse or inside the purse or something like that, you would be able to do that. I just sewed this little strip of material together to make a loop. You could also just use, string, ribbon, something like that. Alright, and right there's my center. So we're going to fold in. And then fold this one. Alright, now over where they come together, I did stitch 3 times. I stitched over it, I stitched back, and back over it again to finish it off, just to give that a little stability from where you're tugging at that. Alright, then we'll jump down here and do the other end real quick. Okay, so now I like to box the corners like this to make it not lay just flat. That way it holds those Kleenex just a little bit better. So what you're going to want to do, you've already got this pretty well creased. You're going to go in and fold that crease up to this stitch. And you're just going to make a tiny little, maybe a 1/2 inch seam there. So it'll look like that. We're going to do that to all 4 corners. We're going to use our crease there and just fold it right up against that stitched line. And then we'll come down and do the same at this end. Now I'm going to just, trim some threads here, but I'm not actually going to snip that off and leave a bunch of raw edges on the inside. Okay, so then you just turn it right side out. so we can just take the tissues out of here. If you were giving this as a gift, you know, just a little something for a close friend or family member, you could leave them in the plastic pouch, of course. And a little tip, if you buy the Kleenex that has the opening at the top, you can just take a pair of scissors and cut a little slit right up through there if you wanted to put them in one of these instead. Or, like I do, I take mine out and I put them inside that way. So that just gives it a little bit of a different look. And this gives you that option of putting a hanger on this so you could have it hanging inside your purse, so they're easier to find. Or even if you wanted to keep this in your glove box, something like that. Now there is another one that I have seen that I think is really cute that I thought we would go ahead and make, since I'm giving you some ideas. And this one is going to be one of these with a pocket over here for chapstick or hand sanitizer, lotion, something like that. So I'm going to put a hanger on it, so I'm going to go ahead and fold this material and go ahead and sew this up. Okay, so this one we have these 3 sections, and this could have been a solid color right here. I just chose to color block it. But this is going to be the lining, and this is the pocket. So the first thing I want to do is I want to hem the part of my pocket that is going to be exposed, right? The part that is the top of the pocket where you'll slide stuff in. So I'm going to go ahead and hem this. Okay, so now that I've got that, we're going to do a little pinning here. We're going to bring this up right side to the wrong side of the pocket, because the pocket needs to be on the outside, just like this needs to be on the outside. So we're just going to put a couple of pins in. Same thing over here. We're going to pull this so that our sides are together, and put a couple of pins. And then this, we just want to pull to the center so that we can put a pleat in it, down at the bottom, not at the top. Just down at the bottom, we want a little pleat. And I'm going to pin that. Then we're going to sew the sides and across the bottom. And I'm going to sew a couple of stitches there across the pleat just to make sure it's strong. Now I am sewing a very, very close to the edge here, because we still have to put the lining piece on and sew again, so I don't want this stitch to be showing. So I'm just going to do a really tight, so I'm just going to sew really close to the edge over here. Actually, I'm going to do something a little decorative on it, so it really wouldn't matter how close to the edge you were there. But we'll get into that when we get to it. Alright, I do still want to close up this bottom of the pocket. Okay, so now we're going to want to put this on, and before I do that, we're going to make it a little decorative. So I'm going to find something that is round. Okay, so I found this lid, and I'm just going to center it. Now you can go corner to corner and make it like an arch, but I'm not going to go quite to the corners. And I just want to trace that. And do the same thing at this side. Okay, now when I lay this down on here, we're going to pin that, and we're going to sew that little arch. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim that out. Okay, now we want to turn this out. And we're just going to top stitch that just to keep that down nice and tight. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over. You want to come in about 2 1/4 inches. So I have a little ruler on my sewing machine here, and that is right at 2 1/4. And then you're going to fold this one over. Also 2 1/4, and just double check myself. Yep. And then we're going to sew a seam, and we're going to sew it very close to the edge because this time we're going to make a French seam. So I'm just going to pin this real quick. Now I have reversed this overlap just for looks. You don't have to, but if I had done it the same as this one, it would have covered most of the pink here, and I wanted that contrast, so I decided to do a reverse overlap there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give this a quick sew. Normal seam allowances run at 1/4 inch, so I'm going to do this more like an 1/8 or maybe even a 1/16, only because we're doing a French seam. And gently poke out your corners. Okay, so when I turned mine out, I didn't quite catch that seam. I'm not going to go back in and redo that. I'm just going to fold it over, and we're going to take another seam. This time I'm going to do the normal 1/4 inch. Okay guys, I'm going to take out my seam after all. This should be stuck down inside here. Okay guys, I realized I messed something up, so I wanted to show you. I went ahead, and stitched my top and bottom right, but what I did wrong was this little loop, I had stuck it inside. It needs to go on the outside because I'm doing a French seam, and that will matter. So I want to go ahead and put this back here. Let's see, just kind of center it, and then I'll be able to fold these over. Okay, so I've turned it wrong side out, and we're going to make another seam across the top and the bottom. The idea behind a French seam is just to give you less material on the inside that can ravel. Your seams are enclosed, but you definitely don't have to do that. If I was going to box corners, I definitely would not be doing a French seam. So this time we're not going to be boxing corners. Okay, so I poked out the corners, and see, it just gives it this little decorative opening here versus a tight opening here. I tend to like this better just because I like that it keeps them cleaner, at least I feel like it does. So let's pull these out. We'll poke them in here. Okay, so once you have that, now you also have a pocket back here that you can put chapstick or hand sanitizer, some lotion, or something like that. You also have this right here. It's not going to hold too much, but it would probably, if you did have your something wide back here that took up a lot of space, you would still have room here to slide maybe a chapstick in. So let's just grab something and see what it's going to hold. Okay, so this is much bigger than hand sanitizer, but just to give you an idea, of what it's going to hold. So if you had, a sanitizer, hand sanitizer, or even a little, so if you had a tube that lays kind of flat at the end, that's going to slide in there and give you a little bit more room for the chapstick or something like that. So this is just some different options. Here's the basic one. And then we did the same thing, but we added the little loop to the end, and we did it to where it looks like it has a binding or border right there just to break up your print. And then we color blocked. We also added that, and we added the pocket to this one. So just some neat ideas there. They're all cute and would make neat little gift items for close friends or church family, something like that you wanted to give just a little something extra to. All right, so I will see you guys back next week.